Welcome to the Arise and Thrive podcast. I'm your host, Connie Jones, and this is a space where we're going to arise into who we truly are, releasing the struggle and the striving and the surviving, learning how to thrive in the life that God created us to live. And we're going to talk about healing, identity, purpose, and courageous leadership through the lens of counseling wisdom, coaching insight, practical tools, leadership principles, and biblical truth. So whether you're listening to a solo episode or a powerful conversation with another purpose-driven leader, my hope is that you feel encouraged and grounded and empowered to live and lead freely, authentically, and aligned with who you were created to be. Let's go. Welcome back, everybody, to the Arise and Thrive podcast. And I'm excited to have one of our therapists on the Arise team today with us. Again, Grace is back with us. Welcome, Grace, to the podcast.
Hey, Connie. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. Well, we enjoyed hearing your story last time and your why behind what brought you or what made you want to come into this field and become a therapist. And we heard a little bit of, your heart for people and the work that you do and how the lens that you see your therapy through. And today I want to dive into a little bit more of your modality or like one of the modalities that you use and kind of your perspective in counseling and how you actually, let's dive deeper into how you actually help people get free and get breakthrough and get the change that they want. So let's just start in, right away. And you are leaning into acceptance and commitment therapy, which I want to talk about. I want you to share your heart for that. And let's start with just what's your why for that? First of all, for our audience's sake, what is acceptance and commitment therapy, and why does that resonate with you? Why did you choose, or why are you choosing that as your as the modality?
Yeah. So acceptance and commitment therapy is also called ACT. It really resonated with me, and I was drawn to it because I struggled in my life with my own seasons of depression and my own anxiety that I still manage, to this day. And ACT really helped remind me that I don't have to necessarily fix or get rid of my anxiety and depression. It's all in waves, right? And it just gave
Yeah.
me a way to live with those seasons without being ruled by them. So it just
Oh,
reminded me that this is a season of life. This is a phase I'm going through. But this kind of suffering that I'm facing produces endurance in my life, right? It brings me back to
yeah,
Romans 5, right? Suffering produces endurance. And
yeah.
so I just found a lot of acceptance and awareness of myself rather than fighting these negative feelings. And it's just really given me a lot of peace. And also reminded me
Oh,
just of my humanity. Like, hey, I'm going to face these things, but I can find acceptance in it, and I can move toward my values and the way I want to live in freedom, right? So,
oh, God, that gives me chills the way you just said that. That is amazing. Yes.
yeah,
That we, a lot of the times our suffering, well, I would say probably 100% of the time, the suffering that we experience in life, the misery that we feel is because we're resisting something. We're fighting against something that we don't want rather than, we're always afraid to or uncomfortable. It's not our natural to accept something, right? Because then in our minds, we're giving into it.
right.
But really, acceptance and surrender are the keys to freedom.
I love that. Yeah.
And that's exactly what you just explained
Yeah.
is that's what you're seeing. That's what's, if I don't resist this so hard and try to fix it and try to change it, and then I can see, okay, what are the gifts in this? And where can I, where is this, how is this growing me? Where,
Right.
what are the lessons in this? What is this teaching me? And how can I, like you said, live according to my values and make choices in spite of what may not be what I would choose.
Totally. Yeah. I think it's just so it's honest and yet compassionate of how you're feeling. Well, and acknowledges the suffering that you're going through, but still invites you to really move into purposeful action. So I think that just
Yeah.
really resonated in my own life.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. So, um, it, you know, ACT, I'll call it because you referred to that, talks a lot about psychological flexibility. That's um, one of the aspects of or the benefits of acts and what does that actually what does that mean for people and what does that actually look like? Why is that so important for people dealing with mental and emotional health?
Yeah. Yeah, well, psychological flexibility or cognitive flexibility is really the goal of ACT. Like that's where you want to keep working towards. And I like to say it's always a ladder that kind of never ends. We're always going to work towards that. We can always get better. And just kind of
Yeah,
for maybe someone who doesn't like understand the full grasp of what ACT is, I kind of want to break it down a little bit more. So, ACT is a form of cognitive behavioral therapy. Okay. So, what cognitive behavioral therapy say is that your thoughts influence your emotions, and then your emotions can influence your behavior, right? So, in
yeah,
ACT specifically, instead of fighting these thoughts or these feelings we might have, we really focus on acceptance and just like awareness of the thoughts. Because sometimes when we fight it and we say, oh, I need to rethink, I can't think that way, we can, find more shame and just go into
yeah.
this downward spiral that, we don't want to go into. So in ACT,
Right.
it's really just reminding you that, hey, you're human and you have a choice to act in line with your values and just sit with your thoughts for a second. Just recognize them like as if it was a teleprompter on a screen. Just read them off. So it's really helping you learn to stop fighting your inner world and just start building a life that reflects what matters to you most. Okay. So
Yeah,
we're always working towards this cognitive flexibility. And really it's just about noticing those thoughts, taking a breath, and it's a lot about slowing down, present moment awareness. Okay. So we want to be more aware of our thoughts, but not let them dictate our choices.
yeah. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, because we don't, until we slow down and until we're empowered to understand that our thoughts are not, they don't have the power that we give them or have been giving them all of our lives, that we can actually choose our thoughts and that as by choosing our thoughts, we can choose our emotions and then choose our behaviors. That all of that we are able to feel empowered to create the change that we want in our lives. And that's beautiful. And that's what you like that what a gift you're giving people that you as you're working them through this process. Because yeah, we just feel so stuck
Right.
oftentimes in our emotional and our mental patterns and don't feel like we have any power to or any control over it
Right.
and we just kind of start to feel like victims in our own head, in our own
Yeah,
bodies, right?
100%. And I think too, when people feel that stuck, right, they kind of
Yeah.
find a lot of shame in that. And then when you try to just be like, I don't want to think that way. I'm just going to switch the thinking. And then that doesn't happen and you can't switch the
Yeah.
thinking, leads to a lot more shame. So we really want to kind of diffuse the self. We call it diffusion and
Yeah.
ACT from the thoughts. So kind of noticing your thoughts as mental events instead of facts about yourself and separating them from who you are can really lead to some of this cognitive or psychological flexibility that we're talking about.
Oh, I love that. So, in speaking of people getting stuck emotionally and mentally, where do you see, and we've already kind of mentioned, kind of alluded to this but I want to dive in deeper. Like, when you see people, or do you see people get stuck
Right.
in their mental and their emotional patterns, and what does that look like? And then how does acceptance and commitment therapy actually like help them begin to break that cycle?
Yeah, I mean, I think for all of us, it's really easy to get stuck. I think all of us can sit and say, hey, I've had points in my life where I'm getting stuck within my own head. But it's mainly
Yeah.
when we try to control or escape our internal experiences. Okay. So
Mm,
pretend you're overthinking or you're avoiding or you're just even being really like critical about yourself. And you try to run from that. Right. But in
yeah.
ACT and just the therapy that I like to do is let's just gently slow down and let's just experience it. And, sometimes this does face us with our own suffering, right? Like we have to sit there and
Right.
face our suffering. But what ACT teaches is that suffering is part of the human experience, but awareness, acceptance, and just values based action is really what opens the door to the real change.
Mm. And walk through each of those. When you say these things are what create the real change, what do you mean by that? Just so that people can understand a little bit better.
Yeah, well, when you start taking action based on your values, you're no longer staying stuck in that cycle of whatever being self critical or, the overthinking or just even the avoiding, right? You're making a small, concrete step to what really matters to you. And it kind of just like awakens you and reminds you of what's important in your life so that you can stop feeling like you're just in this rut of, this cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if someone were to act on, say, they felt stuck and they, you know, felt like they were just in that same rut,
Mm,
what would it look like? Can you think of an example? What would it look like for them to act on their values?
mm. Well, I think that's something that is definitely dependent on the person. And it also comes
Yeah.
down to choice, right? So
Yeah.
it's really about, okay, I'm coming into therapy and I want change, right? But you have to make that choice towards change. So it can be something as
Mhm.
small as, okay, I'm dealing with a lot of social anxiety. I don't want to feel this way. It's causing a lot of suffering for me to feel this anxious. And, I
Mhm.
want to be out with my friends, but just taking that one step towards, okay, um, I'm gonna do something as small as reaching out to a friend today and asking them to meet for coffee. And it might be in a public place, but as long as I have them there, that's like a first small step. Because my value is friendship and people and community, right? It's taking that
Yeah.
first small step.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So really, you're helping people identify what really matters to them and then moving towards that
Right,
in one way that it may not be the way that they would ideally want to all at once,
right,
because that feels too much for the nervous system at this
right.
point. That maybe feels like that's just overwhelming. But where can I start? What's one little tiny step that I can take in the direction of what really matters to me?
Totally. Yeah. Because you're right. If we try to do everything all at once, like you say, I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna go in a huge crowd and I have this social anxiety, like, that's not a great use of,
You're setting
that
yourself
can
up for
sometimes
failure.
overwhelm you, right? That can almost take
Yeah,
you back in your healing process than moving you forward. So we wanna start small and build upon it, right?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh, that's so good. And so, and that's really, that's how we begin to accept what we can't control and start taking aligned action on what we can control.
definitely.
And so you help your clients understand the difference. You help them, okay, I don't feel in control of this, but here's what I can take action on that does feel aligned for me. And then I can get a win and I can then build on those wins until I feel more confident and more empowered.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
It's kind of what we had just said before too. It's just looking at where our energy is going into, right? So there's going
Yeah.
to be some things, like you said, that are in our control and some things that are out of our control. Our thoughts and our feelings and our experiences, they can fall outside of our control sometimes, right? But our
Yeah.
choices, our boundaries, the values and the aligned action with the values, those are in our control, right? And so ACT really wants to help clients release this illusion of control, but also empower them to, take meaningful steps in their life that are aligned with their values.
Oh, and how do you help people discover what they value?
Hmm, that's a really good question. Sometimes where I like to start is I start with the pain. So if we can identify, hey, like, what has hurt you in your life? Where is the pain showing up? Okay. Sometimes the opposite of that is actually what you value, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this, my family really hurt me and I don't know how I'm going to move forward from this. Okay, so that was really important to you. That was really important that
Yeah.
you're connected with your family. So that can be really hard to do, but it really creates this awareness like we're talking about of the self and what you value and then creating that aligned action.
Oh, wow. I love that because, yeah, I think a lot of times we don't think in terms of our suffering and our pain being aligned to or being in connection with a a deep desire of our heart.
Right.
And it just is we judge things, but we don't actually take the time to sit and look at, okay, what is this showing me
Right.
objectively? This actually just is illuminating the fact that this was important to me.
Totally.
And yeah, there's pain around it, but it also exposes, this is what's important. This is what's valuable. This is a deep desire of my heart. Now I can move in the direction of that and begin to take those areas of my life back.
Right. And when you can identify that
Wow.
pain, you can also just see maybe how you acted outside of your values in that and then realign yourself. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, because we don't realize that we do. We just have reactionary um reactions that we don't think about and we don't understand why we do what we do. But when we can step back and understand it, it gives us a lot of insight
Definitely.
and then we can make different choices.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you give us maybe an example? You've already kind of shared in your own life what this looks like. Like where are some or what maybe another example of a client getting breakthrough or what this may look like for someone to get breakthrough, a powerful moment that someone has had, where this process of ACT has shifted something really meaningful.
Yeah, I think one of a really powerful moment I've had with a client is one who is really struggling with self image. And
Mm,
really struggling with the thoughts around their self image and specifically body image, right? And just ruminating
yeah,
on these lies over and over and equating it to their own self worth, right? And so, what ACT did and what we did in our work is really like separated those thoughts from her own worth and allowed her to move forward in freedom and say, oh, okay, I don't need to tie these thoughts that I'm having on who I am and my worthiness, right? I can just say,
yeah,
okay, I'm not feeling great about myself today. I really don't want to feel that way, but it doesn't make me any less worthy than I know I am, right? And so that was a really powerful movement to see her kind of, you know, we had had several sessions and move out of that and just kind of this awakening of, oh, it's okay for me to, find worth in other places. It doesn't have to be about how I look or the thoughts that I'm telling myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is powerful. Powerful shifts. Amazing. And so let me just ask a question. About like, again, I know you've shared this in the podcast, but who do you like, who's a great client for you? Who do you love to see? Who do you love working with? What kinds of challenges do you like to help people through
Yeah,
in addition to that?
I think the main focus for me is I love to focus on just day-to-day stability. I love working with individuals who are really ready for that change and they're at that point of change, but they just don't know what steps to take next. And then I
Yeah.
love just being that guide for them and say, hey, like we can walk this journey together. And really find acceptance within yourself and your thoughts and your emotions, and just find ways of action that are more beneficial in your life. So I would say really a focus on just stability and just how you're functioning day to day, so that you can live in fullness and freedom. Yeah.
Yeah. And is that kids, teens, adults, women, men, couples?
Yeah, I've really seen such a broad range, but I would say I love working with women individually. I've worked with teens, um, and as old as their 60s. But I really find just a heart in working with women who are ready to be able to regulate and have been through trauma, been through their own experiences, and they're at a point of like, I want committed change in my life and I want to live in freedom. I don't want to hold on to this anymore. So I really see myself leaning in there.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful the way that you describe that. And when someone is ready or they just know they don't have to like I think that's the beautiful thing about what we help people do is that you just have to want something different.
Right.
You don't have to figure out how to do it. You don't have to do it all on your own. You don't have to have any of the answers. You just can show up ready for change.
Yeah.
And that's what we get to walk people through. And it is just beautiful to be able to do that and give people a completely different experience. Transformation, like you said, true freedom,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
100%.
and that's available. So, when let's talk for a minute about the hard seasons, about, in the seasons of stress and change or overwhelm, um, how do you really help your clients navigate those really uncomfortable emotions without resisting that, without numbing? Because that's the easiest thing to do is
Right.
for us to numb or distract from them,
Mhm.
not want to feel them, or just spiraling in them. How do you help people with that in the hardest seasons?
Yeah. Well, I think that what I really like to work towards is um, just finding a balance in those emotions that, hey, this is okay for me to feel this, right? It might feel
Yeah.
super uncomfortable, and I might take you outside of your comfort zone and saying, hey, like, let's bring that into this space right now, present moment. I really notice that when you're talking about that, that you're feeling this way. And that could feel really, really uncomfortable for some people. But if you
Yeah.
can just slow down and start to notice the way your body's feeling in response to the thoughts and emotions that you're having, you're really using that just as information, right? So you're
Yeah.
making space for that discomfort without judgment and without putting any of the shame on yourself, right? But sometimes it
Yeah.
just reduces the intensity of those feelings and kind of restores just this awareness and acceptance and steadiness, right?
Mm, yeah. I love that. So yeah, you're just really helping people just like stop again fighting and resisting and just being.
Yeah.
Like stop all the doing and just be with yourself and allow and then let the transformation happen
Right.
as you give them the insight and the tools
Yeah.
and the empowerment to.
Right.
create that change for
Right. And
themselves.
if you can kind of view those negative emotions more as like information for yourself, you know how
Yeah.
you need to move forward, right? If we're just sitting in
Yeah.
it and like ruminating in it, right, and getting stuck in it, we're not going to move forward. And I also like to
Yeah.
remember it's like God gave us these emotions for a reason, right? Like Jesus
Yeah.
wept, and that's
Yeah.
okay, right? Because you know what
Yeah.
ultimately it does is it brings us closer to our Father in heaven, right? Like if we
Yeah.
can't feel these things and lean on him, what like how else will we lean on him? So I
Right.
really like to just sit with it and let's just navigate these uncomfortable emotions together, but remind ourselves that they're cueing those emotions are cueing us into what we need. Yeah.
Ooh. Yes. They're guides. They're leading
Yeah.
us. If we don't avoid them, resist them, numb them, whatever, they're they're our they're messengers. They're chemical messengers
Yeah.
giving us data,
Of course.
leading us to what is it that our heart wants? What are the desires? Where are we out of alignment with our values and what really matters?
Right.
Where are we hurting?
Right.
It is really good data that we can use to, if we will be present with them, to recover something that's important or something that's lost,
Yeah.
or just move into connection and relationship with what God wants us to know
I love
or what we need from Him.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. So let's talk about the action part of this,
Sure.
So um in helping people change patterns, change habits, change behaviors, and find that new way of living that does match who they want to become, what does it look like to take new action and especially be committed to taking new action when we're trying to get the change that we want?
Sure. Yeah. Well, what I always just like to remind my clients is we're not perfect, right? So
Yeah.
this action, excuse me, is going to be small, but it's going to be imperfect too. But as
Huh.
long as there's consistency there, that's really what
Yeah.
matters, right? So we
Yeah.
want to take your values, like we might go through what these values look like in our session. And then let's start with some of those. Okay, like let's start small and let's identify what a small step towards that would look like for you, right? And it's really unique to that person. So, for example, you might say, "Oh, like I really value my family. I don't feel like I've, been consistent with them or spent enough time with them." Okay, totally understandable. We all have crazy lives, right? But let's set
Right.
aside 30 minutes once a week for you to play a game all together or whatever it is. It
Yeah.
can be something so small as that, right? But as long as that consistency there, that's what's important. So, really, over time, those small actions start to reshape identity, remind you of like what you're working towards, and break you out of those chains and into that freedom and into also just that trust of yourself, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. That's yeah, it's really what you're describing is a kind of a like making powerful changes that are in alignment with our values to become the person that we really want to be in our lives.
Yes.
And as we begin to show up differently and we choose
Right.
those new aligned actions reinforce who we're becoming. And it begins to build a new identity, and the new identity begins to build a new life, and the new life reinforces the new identity, and the new identity reinforces the new life, and that's how change happens really powerfully.
Yeah, it trickles to so many arenas, right? And it can
Yeah.
also be maybe you're becoming the person that you needed through this evaluate align action.
Ooh. Yeah.
So many avenues to it.
Absolutely. That's the ultimate empowerment and healing, isn't it? To become what you always wanted, and become that for yourself.
Yeah.
I love that. So I know it's time to go, but if you could leave our listeners with like one shift, one practice, something that they can really they can start to like live a more values aligned, wholehearted life
Right.
today in a small little way,
Right.
what would you share with them?
Oh,
What would that
well,
be?
we first want to identify the fear-based pattern that you're in, right? And then once we can
Yeah.
kind of do that, we want to just start to create some space between you and your thoughts. So notice them more, right? Be really aware. And I just always like to say just slow down. Slow down just the pace of what you're doing, right? Like you can be anxiously vacuuming and like I have to make this perfect. I have to do this before this happens and blah blah blah. Take a breath, slow down, notice what you're thinking and say, is there urgency in this? Is there truth in this? Yeah, I would just say that
Oh,
slowing down and that just simple act of pausing can really
yeah.
connect you with your body and
Yeah.
with yourself and your values. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would just say that to remind yourself that you are more than what your mind is telling you, what your thoughts are telling you, right?
Oh, and more than just your habits and behavioral patterns
Yeah,
that you've been reacting to for years and years.
right,
That you are not a victim of any of that, but it feels like we are until we understand differently.
right, right.
Yeah. Wow. So let me end with if this is resonating with someone and they're like, oh my gosh, I think I need to see her. I want to just at least have a conversation with her to see if she's a good fit for me.
Yeah.
How would they go about getting in touch with you? And are you taking new clients?
Yes, I am taking new clients, and you can find my information at arisecounselingcoaching.com. My name is Grace
Yep.
Heus once again, and you can either book an appointment straight online there with me, or you can also send me an email or even call me on that information at arisecounselingcoaching.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Thanks for sharing this beautiful way of helping people, get the change that they want and learn to really love themselves and embrace what's going on in us. And that's, we don't have to fight ourselves. We embrace ourselves,
Yeah.
and that's where how the
Yes.
change happens. We are our own best advocate, and when we learn how to feel empowered and learn how to really listen to what's going on in our body and acknowledge it, then we can make those powerful changes that get us the result that we want so that we can live the life that we were made for.
Agreed. I love it.
Yeah. So thanks for being here and sharing with us. And you guys, if this resonated with you, please share it with somebody that you know needs to hear it. We just there is no reason to continue in any kind of struggle or surviving based pattern. That's what we are here for, to help you get transformation, to help you be able to thrive in spite of in the midst of the struggle, and not struggle anymore. So we would love to walk out your journey with you, and we just appreciate you joining us today, and hope that it impacted you in a way that produces change in your heart, in your mind, and in your life. And we'll see you right back here on the next episode. And thanks, you guys. See you soon.
Thanks, Connie.
Thank you for spending time with me on the Arise and Thrive podcast. If something in today's episode stirred your heart or brought clarity or invited growth, I encourage you to just pause and notice what's being awakened within you. You don't have to strive your way into transformation. Powerful change happens as you align with truth and you step forward with courage, one intentional choice at a time. And if this episode supported you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who you know needs this message. And until next time, remember, you were created for freedom, fullness, and purpose. It's time to arise and thrive.